Listen closely, because this is not a message for the distracted mind. This is not for those who want shortcuts, tricks, or borrowed confidence. This is for the man or woman who feels deep in their bones that life must hold more than survival, more than chasing bills, more than running faster on a treadmill that never moves forward. Somewhere inside you is a quiet knowing that wealth is not an accident, not a gift from fate, and not the result of luck alone, but the expression of a disciplined mind aligned with a definite purpose. The rich did not wake up wealthy. They woke up aware that money obeys laws just as gravity does. And those who learn the laws rise, while those who ignore them remain stuck explaining their struggle. Most people are taught to earn. Very few are taught to build. They are taught to trade hours for currency, to worship income, to celebrate paychecks as if they were victory. But income is only the echo of effort. Assets are the architecture of freedom. The wealthy understand this distinction early, or they learn it painfully, or they learn it too late. Assets work while you sleep. Income stops the moment you do. One feeds the present. The other secures the future. And this is not theory. It is pattern, repeated across history, across empires, across every man who ever escaped scarcity and claimed abundance as his natural state. Napoleon Hill wrote that riches begin with a state of mind, with definiteness of purpose, with the burning desire that refuses to be extinguished by doubt. But desire alone is not enough. Desire must be organized. It must be disciplined. It must be directed toward creation, not consumption. The poor ask, how much do I make? The rich ask, what do I own? And ownership is not always loud. It does not always shine. Sometimes it grows silently in ledgers, in systems, in structures invisible to the impatient eye. The first rule the rich live by is this: money is a servant, not a master. They do not chase it in panic. They command it with clarity. They understand that every dollar is a worker, and unemployed money is wasted potential. When money enters their hands, it is given instructions. It is assigned a task. It is sent out into the world to return with companions. This is why the wealthy do not ask, can I afford this? They ask, does this multiply me or diminish me? Every purchase is a vote for the future they are building. Every expense either strengthens their foundation or erodes it. Consider Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times not because he was reckless, but because he was experimenting with assets of knowledge. Every failure added to his inventory of understanding. He was not paid by the hour. He was building intellectual property, ideas that would outlive him. Andrew Carnegie understood that steel was not merely metal. It was leverage. Henry Ford understood that systems create scale, and scale creates wealth far beyond the capacity of individual labor. Walt Disney was bankrupt more than once, but he owned something more powerful than cash, vision structured into assets that could reproduce themselves endlessly. The second rule is patience fused with urgency. This seems like a contradiction to the untrained mind, but the wealthy master it. They think long-term while acting decisively in the present. They plant trees knowing they will sit in the shade years later. Most people want the fruit before the roots exist. The rich water the soil when no one is watching. They invest when applause is absent. They remain calm while others are frantic because they understand compounding of money, of skills, of reputation. Time is their ally because they use it deliberately. You will notice something unsettling when you study wealth closely. The rich are not emotional about money. They are strategic. They do not let fear dictate decisions, nor excitement blind them. They detach ego from numbers. Losses are feedback, not identity. Wins are confirmation, not arrogance. This emotional discipline is an asset in itself. It allows them to move when others freeze and to wait when others rush. Napoleon Hill called this the mastery of self, the ability to remain steady while the world reacts. The third rule is clarity of aim. Wealth does not respond to vague wishes. It responds to definite plans. The rich know exactly why they want money. Not to impress, not to compete, but to build, to expand, to create optionality. Money without purpose becomes chaos. Money with purpose becomes power. When you know what you are building, sacrifice becomes temporary and discipline becomes natural. You stop asking what you are missing out on and start asking what you are moving toward. Assets are not always physical. Some of the most powerful assets are invisible. Skills that compound, networks that open doors, reputation that precedes your name, knowledge that allows you to see opportunity where others see risk. The rich invest relentlessly in learning, not as a hobby, but as strategy. They read when others scroll. They study patterns while others chase trends. They understand that ignorance is expensive, and education, properly applied, is the highest yield investment available. The fourth rule is leverage. The wealthy do not rely solely on their own effort. They use systems, people, capital, and technology to multiply impact. They ask, how can this be done without me being present? If your income depends entirely on your presence, your freedom is fragile. Assets remove that fragility. Businesses that operate, investments that appreciate, content that earns, systems that repeat. These are the levers that lift a man beyond limitation. This is why discipline is non-negotiable. Discipline is the bridge between intention and asset. Without it, money leaks. With it, money builds. The rich delay gratification not because they are joyless, but because they understand sequence. Pleasure after progress. Reward after reinforcement. They train themselves to say no to what feels good now in order to say yes to what feels right later. This is not deprivation. It is alignment. The fifth rule is respect for risk, not fear of it. The poor gamble. The rich calculate. Risk is never avoided because stagnation is the greatest risk of all. But risk is managed through knowledge, through diversification, through preparation. The wealthy move forward with eyes open, understanding probabilities, not fantasies. They fail forward, not blindly. And when they fall onto experience, not excuses. Look at Abraham Lincoln, who failed in business, failed in elections, failed publicly and painfully, yet never stopped refining his purpose. His greatest asset was not money, but resilience anchored to belief. Wealth, in its highest form, requires the same resilience. There will be moments when the numbers do not make sense, when the progress is invisible, when doubt whispers that the old way was safer. The rich do not retreat. They recalibrate. The sixth rule is ownership of responsibility. The wealthy do not blame markets, governments, parents, or timing. They take full responsibility for results. This is not cruelty. It is power. Responsibility returns control to the individual. The moment you accept that your outcomes are shaped by your decisions, you reclaim the ability to change them. Victimhood cannot build assets. Accountability can. Gratitude plays a role here, but not as passive appreciation. Gratitude sharpens perception. It keeps the mind from scarcity, from desperation, from short-sightedness. The rich are grateful for progress, for lessons, for even setbacks, because gratitude keeps them grounded while they climb. It reminds them that wealth is built, not stolen from life, and that abundance grows where appreciation lives. The seventh rule is adaptability. Assets must evolve. What worked yesterday may decay tomorrow. The rich are not loyal to methods. They are loyal to outcomes. They update strategies without abandoning principles. They let go quickly of what no longer serves. They do not cling to identity tied to outdated success. This flexibility allows them to survive disruption and often profit from it. There is a quiet courage in this adaptability. It requires humility, the willingness to admit you were wrong early. It requires curiosity, the desire to understand new forces shaping the world. And it requires confidence, the belief that your value is not tied to a single tactic. The rich understand that the greatest asset they possess is not money, but the mind that knows how to rebuild it. The eighth rule is contribution. This is misunderstood by many. Giving is not charity alone. It is value creation. The wealthy ask, how many lives does this improve? Money flows toward value. The more value you solve, the more wealth you attract. This is law, not opinion. Those who focus only on taking cap their potential. Those who focus on creating expand it infinitely. Napoleon Hill spoke of the mastermind principle, the alignment of minds toward a common aim. The rich surround themselves with thinkers, builders, challengers. They protect their environment fiercely because they know thought is contagious. If you live among excuses, you will inherit limitation. If you live among builders, you will inherit expansion. Assets are easier to build when your environment reinforces growth. The ninth rule is consistency. Not intensity for a week, not motivation for a month. Consistency for years. Small actions repeated become massive outcomes compounded. The rich do not wait for inspiration. They operate by routine. They show up when it is boring. They invest when it is uncomfortable. They build when it is quiet. This is where most people fall away, not because the work is impossible, but because it is unglamorous. And finally, the 10th rule is identity. The rich do not try to become wealthy. They decide who they are. They see themselves as builders, owners, stewards of capital. From that identity, decisions flow naturally. When your identity shifts, behavior follows. When behavior follows, results follow. This is the deepest transformation of all. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you express when your inner world aligns with your outer action. So hear this clearly. Building assets is not about money alone. It is about building a life that is not fragile, a future that is not dependent on permission, a legacy that does not vanish when you stop working. Income feeds you today. Assets feed generations. And the laws that govern this are available to anyone willing to think, to plan, to discipline desire into structure. You are not late. You are not behind. You are standing at the point of decision. Will you continue to measure life by paychecks, or will you begin measuring it by what you are building? The rich are not different in blood or breath. They are different in orientation. They build first. They consume later. They plant while others feast. And in time, they feast while others wonder how it happened.